Mud floods is absolutely mental. I came across this a while ago, thanks to the Bully Slayer, aka the Foul Wow, over on TikTok. He put me onto this. I was like, "What? My mind's telling me no." It was just going crazy. All right, let me tell you about it. If you don't know what the mud floods are, man, I in some ways I hope you don't know what the mud floods are because you're going to be in for a ride. Do you ever have that feeling sometimes that people, government, or whatever you want to say, but people aren't telling you everything? People are hiding certain things. People are bending the truth, right? To maybe fit the narrative. What if I told you then that the history that you've been taught is hiding a humongous secret that not even the schools know because it's so secretive? I'm talking buried cities, advanced technology, civilizations erased, okay? And potentially on purpose. That's what I'm talking about, mate, right? The mud floods. So people claim that in the 18th or 19th century, a huge catastrophic event happened called the mud flood, right? A mud flood or sediment basically buried civilizations, all right? And this civilization was called Tartaria. Now, there is actually maps of Tartaria or Tartarian. These are the people, Tartarians. This is Bully Slayer, by the way. This is the person that put me onto this mud flood stuff. He's an absolute legend.
How come I've never noticed this booky building just sitting there? So straight away you know it's a mud flood because there's ramps and there's steps. But the main feature, of course, is the buried windows. Oh. Have a look at some of the tech that would have been on this. They've literally stripped this building naked.
What he's saying about tech is like these antennas and stuff that actually originally were for free energy.
Electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities. It can drive the world's machinery without the need of coal, oil, gas, fuel. This new power for the driving of the world's machinery will be derived from the energy which operates the universe, the cosmic energy.
Everything that was on this building is gone. It's an old building, I'll tell you that. When I say mud flood, I'm talking about mud flood. But you can see that's a half buried window, no mistakes, bruv. Yeah, I remember when this building used to be in use. I think it was like a council house building. Get your birth certificates and that from there. But I'd love to explore it.
Here's somebody else who says the perfect example of the mud flood. Look at this one.
Perfect example of the mud flood. So we've got these all blocked up. And look, door, but this is gonna run straight. But as you can see, this one's blocked up. This door's getting shorter. These are too short, and in the ground they go. Talking about those windows down here.
Just think about how far this thing goes down, guys.
Take it all the way down. Now we're at the next level up here, so ground level. This is level number 2. This used to be, well, the second story. So this used to be.
That's crazy. I don't know whether this is a myth or not, but people blocked up their windows because I can't remember when it was, but basically these would tax you for the amount of windows that you had for sunlight. That's where they're saying daylight robbery comes from. When people couldn't afford the extra amount of tax, they would block up the windows. Imagine, who the hell are you? If that's true, mate, Christ almighty. Who are you to tell me how much light I can have in my bloody house, mate? Fuck off. Anyway, don't get me started. So I've got more evidence of that I'll keep on showing you here and there, but I want to show you some of these photographs as well. Like, look at these photos. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Literally windows and doors underneath here. Look at that. This one here, look, 2,000-year-old underground Jerusalem mud flood evidence.
He's saying 2,000 years of history.
Down here is 2,000 years of it. You've got to take me down.
I am taking you down.
Whoa. Look at this.
Welcome to underground Jerusalem.
So, Aziz, tell me, what are you seeing down here? What is down here?
This is probably around the time of the Crusades, the Ayyubite dynasty. And there are very few people who've seen this. We didn't know this exists a year and a half, 2 years ago. So it's an amazing thing what you see right now.
And in terms of levels of history, so you're saying this could be the Crusades. Beneath here,
there is another level. And this is obviously not only under this restaurant, this exists everywhere in the old city in Jerusalem.
whole new stories to be told.
So why is nobody talking about this? Apart from these two blokes. You know? Like, let me just listen to this guy talking about this church, right? And he's talking about cymatics and how churches were there to heal you. And I'm going to talk about that in a second because it touches on something that really hit home. Listen to this.
This isn't a church, it's a piece of technology. And let me show you what they do to these buildings to turn them off. They say this is because lightning might strike and they need to bring the electricity down into the ground. But look at this cable, goes all the way up the building to the spire. Because if they didn't do this, if they didn't put this grounding rod in, this building would still be turned on. Because this is a free energy device. And there's a mint documentary for you to check out. It's on YouTube. It's called The Lost History of the Flat Earth. And it goes into detail about these buildings.
You lost me at flat earth, but Garrett, carry on.
Buildings, the reason for the buttress. This glass would have been added at a later date. So this would have been empty. So this whole building would have been a resonator, a free energy device. And as I said, all this glass was added at a later date. And this was to pay homage to the creator. Frequency, cymatics and sound. People could be enjoying this building, feeling the energy that this building emits, but instead it's here, it's boarded up, it's locked and it's going to waste. It's switched off. So here's what we need to do. We need to get these buildings turned back on.
There was something else as well. Hang on, let me tell you about this. Right, let me show you this one. One sec. This one here.
Have you ever wondered why the Tartarian civilizations made these organs with such intricate detail? Well, you've come to the right place. They were created to heal us. It is called sound resonance healing. Each one of our cells create a vibration. They figured out which cells are healthy and which were carrying disease by listening to the resonance. Modern-day science has managed to tap into this technology in 2002 using Raman spectroscopy. A laser light would penetrate the skin tissue and send feedback to a computer. Here you can see a healthy cell and a cancerous cell. This type of resonance healing has also been known to heal brain disorders. Imagine what the Tartarian and other ancient civilizations knew.
When he says about the healing and stuff, I mean, I don't know whether maybe it's something to do with religion, maybe it's something to do with me, like the child in me or something. I don't know what it is, right? But whenever I go into a church, I have this overwhelming, like, emotion that I sometimes can't control, right? It's almost like I feel very emotional when I go into a church, especially these grand cathedrals and stuff. I feel very emotional. Is that the structure? Is that the sounds? Is that what's going on? Or is it just because I know I'm connecting God and that? I don't know what it is. I don't think it's just God, because like I can talk to God now, but it's whenever I go in these buildings, I have this feeling of a different energy that I'm picking up on, you know? And it's the thing about the bells as well, like bells. There's that whole thing about the Second World War where Hitler wanted to take all the bells because he wanted them for bullets and stuff. They wanted the material for bullets. But apparently there's like a graveyard of buried bells, because bells were giving off this frequency, a healing frequency. Hence why on the top of churches you have the bell, and the bell resonates over the village and heals people. Like, this is the Tartarian map. The map of Tartaria. So this is obviously... Look at these different maps that we don't talk about anymore. The question is, why do we not have the architecture like this anymore? Right? And I know that there's an argument, you know, that because it's money, greed, we don't build these things anymore because it takes too much time, it takes too much money. We just need to bring up a block of flats, a block of offices or whatever, you know? But then I ask, right, hang on, look at this, right? Just watch this.
Tartaria was real, and the government lies. Government translates in Latin to mind control. Free energy exists. It's proven that every 1,000 feet or every 40 feet, you collect so much voltage in the air. Tartarian architecture, some of the most beautiful architecture in the world. The onion domes exists in Russia, where Tartaria used to be. True Tartarian architecture.
Look at this.
Tartaria was real.
Like, I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. But look at this, man. How amazingly beautiful that is. All of them, right? Let's be honest. All that Gothic churches and stuff, you know? Those Gothic cathedrals and buildings, right? Why don't we make stuff like this anymore? It's because, like, some people say that they can't. They can't do it. I'll show you some of the detail in a minute, mate. I'm telling you. I know there is some absolutely phenomenal architects and craftsmanship out there. I know. Mate, I'm so right. Okay, let me just show you something a minute, right? Where have I saved it the other day.
Now, this is the Notre Dame Cathedral de Rouen in France. One of the most sophisticated architectural anomalies in the entire world. Look. 0% chance that anyone with a hammer and chisel built this right here. All you need is your two working eyes to understand that the mainstream narrative is a load of absolute bullocks. Look at this. How could you possibly see this with your own two eyes and believe, yeah, these guys, hammer and chisel, primitive civilization for sure?
Fucking look at the state of this, mate. Look at the, like, come on.
It's mind-boggling to me, some of the people that will combat this and be like, oh, you're taking away from their art and specialty. They had so much time on their hands. Clearly it's hammer and chisel. But you're being so disrespectful by saying that, by really thinking that these people were primitive and they didn't have sophisticated advanced technology that is far superior than ours, because they built things that we can't build. We cannot do this. Laser technology, some sort of directed energy weapon technology. The furthest thing from hammer and chisel. These people were much more wise than we have been told.
Imagine, mate, imagine that it was lasers. Because that's what we got now. But I would imagine only on like a square few inch here, like, you know? So people are saying we're not building these things. We are, like, digging them up. We're digging them up to show brilliance, right? Look at this. Is that real? Or is that AI?
Now, I don't know if you've heard of the Tartarian Empire, but I'm gonna tell you like this. This is the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York, and they say it was built in 1893 with just a hammer and a chisel. So this is the story that they're giving. A couple of millionaires decided to build two mansions side by side, then later converted it into a hotel. Now the problem I'm having is, where are these millionaires coming from with all this equipment? You're talking about a time when resources weren't so easy to come by. I don't see no construction photos. I don't see nothing. Do you know how much manpower you would need to build a structure like this? Do you know how many hammers and chisels you would need? And I know what a lot of you are going to say. They had slaves back then. Are you trying to tell me every slave was a master bricklayer? Was a master mason?
Yeah.
Come on, brother. Surprise, surprise. That building is no longer there. They knocked it down to make way for the Empire State Building. Because any Tartarian building is made with ancient tech and are built on ley lines. So there's no surprise when they knock it down and build their own structure right on top.
Oh shit.
Now I...
The ley lines, okay.
Oh, we got your ass. We got your ass now. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Any book that had the true knowledge was deliberately burnt. Every picture has been repainted and whitewashed. Every statue and building has been renamed. Even street names have been changed, and every date has been altered. Where the J used to be, they changed it into a 1.
Oh!
Which added 1,000 years to our timeline, which gave them enough time to make up a new version of history. This is a picture of the state capitol building in Texas, and it's staged. They want you to believe that they built these buildings, but all you will see is some work being done to the roof. Is work really being done? Or are they really just dismantling the Tartarian tech? And in all of these pictures, when you look into the sky, it's always been whitewashed. What are they hiding? In this picture, they've literally drawn in the sky.
What?
Come on, brother. Like, look at this building here. And what do you find? A man on a horse and a wagon. And when you look closely, what's leaned up against the building? A ladder. No hammer, no chisel, just a ladder. These man was working with the bare minimum. Any picture you try find of these buildings being constructed, all you're gonna find is a plank of wood on the floor and the building already built up in the back. But in reality, this is what was going on.
Digging
They
it
had
out.
to dig these buildings up from out of the mud, and the reason why they had to block out the sky, well, that's a story for another video.
Oh shit, no! Mate, this is what I'm saying, man. I'm as I'm recording, I'm finding more stuff out. Like this one foul wow, man. You've got to follow him. He's so damn good. He's so damn good. Here's mud flood evidence, mate. Unequivocal, slam dunk evidence. Apparently, listen to this.
Okay, if you want unequivocal, slam dunk evidence of a mud flood or intentional burial, you're about to get it. This hotel in London has 4 floors, but the original sketches of the building have 5 floors, which they say weren't completed to save on costs. But as you can see, I had to walk up steps to reach the hotel. But it looks as if underground, beneath this glass, the building just keeps on going. And it turns out there's a London Underground station beneath the building. So let's go and check it out. And what do you know, we found the missing 5th floor underground. And it can't just be a basement, because why are there bricked up windows there? All they've done is simply build a station around the buried ground floor. And here you can see, up through the looking glass, all 5 stories of the building. And here you see a sketch of the building with the 5th floor, which they say was not built. Even knowing you can see the 5th floor for yourself in the underground station, hidden in plain sight. Am I taking crazy pills? It's right there.
Here we go, more evidence. These are all amazing sort of theories and ideas and evidence and photos and things like that, right? However, what I did, I put together some counter arguments, okay? And here they go. Here they are. Regarding the buried buildings, historians say they're from urban planning, like Seattle raising streets after floods or fires. Photos from the Library of Congress show workers with steam shovels in the 1890s, elevating streets in Seattle's Deny regrade. The basement windows were often designed for uneven terrain, not buried by a global mud flood. The grand architecture that in the 19th century was a time of wealth and industrialization. Photos from the Chicago History Museum show the 1893 World's Fair building made of plaster and wood, meant to be temporary. That explains why they were demolished, but their ornate designs still feel almost outworldly. The missing antennas and domes and things like that. Skeptics say they were removed for practical reasons, safety, cost, or urban redesign. Archival photos show buildings like those of the World's Fair altered after storm damage to save money. No evidence support atmospheric energy systems, but Tesla's experiments keep the idea intriguing. Tesla's another thing that I haven't mentioned in this video yet, because like I say, this video is going to spiral out of control if I don't try to hone it down. You know, I haven't even touched on really the dates and where the one with the Y, 1801, where it could have been 801, whatever.
I'm a very imaginative person. I imagine that if you set loose a celestial being like Satan, it would cause a global effect. And if I was Satan, I would probably want to hide that evidence. And I would probably also want to hide the evidence of my number one enemy who bound me for 1,000 years. And now I look at this entire timeline that they present to us as history, which is bullshit. Wouldn't that be what Satan would be doing? Change up time? Try to hide it? We have so many buildings where we figured that that was not a 1 in front of the numbers of the year. It was sometimes a Y and the yearly number. We have coins where it was I and the yearly number. I personally found evidence in my own family because I tried to find more evidence of where my family came from, and guess what I stumbled upon? A birth certificate from one of my ancestors from 500 years ago, where it says I 667. There was no 1 in front of it. And now let's just imagine, because Jesus' name wasn't always written with a J in front, it was written with an I in front, because the letter J wasn't invented until the late 1500s, 1600s, before it did not exist. That letter was added later on. So now imagine, could it be possible that it was not I 667, but Jesus 667, like the millennium reign of Jesus?
Geologically, a global mud flood would leave consistent sediment layers across continents, but USGS diagrams show no such evidence. Local floods or landslides explain the photos regarding projects like in San Francisco post-1906, where practical fixes, a global cover-up, would be complex. But those excavation images keep us curious. Okay, So we haven't really gone into other areas either. There's also the idea of why there was so much of a boom in psychiatric hospitals that came up around the era as well. Was that something that these people were trying to hide? And they were telling these people that tried to say, look, you know, we saw what happened. This is the mud flood and we should be having free energy. We should be doing this. They're like, close them up, lock them away. They're mental. This video is like a mixy mash just because of my head is so like overwhelmed with all of it. But we can, I suppose, bring it down. I want to look into just the architecture. I want to look at just like photos and videos of things being dug up. You know, I want to look into just the Tartarian civilization of what they did. I want to look into the possibility, because we didn't touch on it here, but giants being in that civilization as well. There's so much I want to look into. The healing properties, like the bells, the churches, like all of it, man. So I tell me what you want to see. This is like I say, a lucky dip, mix and mash full of all of it, because it's such a complex, huge area. Yeah. So let me know what you think, man. I'm going to have to work my ass off to edit this. Anyway, if you want to see more, please let me know. Subscribe, do the thing, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.